Can appearances with a low price tag overshadow every other component of a smartphone? Alcatel and Amazon certainly want to answer that question as they've teamed up with the Prime Edition Idol 5S. The phone, for a lack of a better expression, is stunning. Seriously, the way the light hits the glass on the Idol 5S makes this thing look like, well, an idol. This phone certainly stands out with its 2.5D glass front and back that sandwiches in between a slab of metal that houses front-facing speakers. I've used a lot of phones, but never have I seen a design such as this one. Talk about bezels. You technically have two sets of bezels on this phone, one on the screen and one underneath the screen. It certainly is unique, but very solid to hold. For a glass phone, I could get a solid grip on it. Inside the phone, Alcatel gives you a mid-tier Snapdragon 625 with 3GB of RAM, which is very capable of handling modern smartphone stuff. One thing that helps this phone move along relatively smoothly is a close to stock version of Android. Joy Launcher is Alcatel's signature skin, and you can do much worse than what they've done with Android Nougat 7.1.1. I don't expect any updates for this phone, so neither should you. For the most part, the Idol 5S is enjoyable enough to use. Like most mid-tier devices using a Snapdragon 600 something, users of flagship devices will notice slower load times and performance. But let's be honest, you really don't need the quickest loading speeds and browsing to have a satisfying smartphone experience. So many mid-tier phones have been showing us that these last couple of years, and the Idol 5S delivers that in performance as well. The 5S also provides you with a manageable 5.2-inch 1080p screen. It's an IPS display that doesn't give you vivid colors. That is the most noticeable thing about this screen. It's rather dull. It does have oleophobic coating and is a slab of Asahi Dragontail glass, which, like on the Xperias, are pretty solid. So at least there's that. The speakers should excite you more than the display, to be honest. These dual front-facing speakers aren't the highest quality in sound, but they get loud and maintain a certain clearness and clarity, which I appreciated while watching movies.
Shattered, we shot for 6 months. About 6 months, we had 3 months of post-production. It's a 30-minute film. Usually in film school, you don't make a 30-minute film.
So it is a long film, but it's actually an achievement in a way.
It definitely was. That's a third of a movie, of a feature-length movie, and it was.
And that really is all the good and neutral things I can say about the Idol 5S. The major letdown with this mid-tier phone is the camera. The primary shooter is a 12-megapixel f2.0 sensor that really was a disappointment. You've probably heard me say a phone shoots fine in daylight, but can't cut it in low light, and that is what makes or breaks a phone's camera. Well, the Idol 5S can't really cut it in daylight as well. The photos just don't come out clear. Detail is sorely lacking, even in optimally lit environments. And try as you might in low light, you just can't seem to get a single usable shot. I'll be honest, I'm really disappointed with this camera. And especially because I've criticized other phones in this price range that perform much better than the Idol 5S. It's quite bad here. The rest of my complaints are, well, admittedly nitpicking, but with some merit. The battery on the 5S is only 2620 mAh. That's quite small by today's standards. You'll squeak out enough to get you through a workday, but it would have been nice to get a little bit more out of it. Without a question though, the battery life is average to below average here. One of the reasons for a smaller battery could be because the phone is rather light and thin. Those are good things, but some of the build design is questionable. The back feels really hollow, and the volume rockers let out this jingle as if they are looser than a pocket full of dimes. At least you get a headphone jack on this hardware, although the weird occupation of the USB-C port and the 3.5mm port annoyed my OCD self like nothing else. Those are just diva gripes that I have though. The audio through the headphones isn't too bad, and I kind of miss listening to podcasts and music with headphones. I haven't done that much with most phones omitting the jack. I've altered my usage, albeit I never really listened to much music in the first place. The fingerprint scanner is surprisingly quite reliable, just not the fastest thing out there. This is one of those scanners that you have to press once to hit the lock screen and press again to unlock the phone. Keeping it on the scanner throughout the process won't get you past the lock screen. That's a little annoying and takes a little bit of relearning if you've used a modern fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint gestures the scanner allows you to do are a great addition to your usage though. You can easily scroll through your gallery as well as navigate through the quick settings to name a couple of useful cases. And my last little negative note is that I've noticed some difficulties navigating the display and navigation buttons. It's slight, but there. When you press on the display, sometimes you need to press harder for it to recognize an input. Sometimes I felt the icon in my fingers were off of where I needed to tap for it to input. But at $200 with the Amazon ads, you can most certainly live with some of the annoyances that come with the Idol 5S. It's a great looking phone, that cannot be denied. But in reality, the other components of the smartphone overshadow the beautiful appearance. It just so happens, a lot of those components aren't too pleasant to the overall user experience.
If you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, hit the bell button below so that you don't miss a single video in the future. I'll see you guys next time. Bye!